Hey everybody, this is Sam and welcome back to the Good Beta. They say that over 40% of Canadians worry about money, and if you're one of those people, then today I'm going to try to approach the topic of money in a way that will hopefully help change your mindset and help you worry less about it. Now, you may have heard the old expression that money is the root of all evil, and that's not exactly true. Greed? Yeah, maybe, but believing that expression can be a problem. You see, the more you start to believe that money is the root of all evil, then eventually it will just reaffirm whatever fears or worries you may have already had about money. So, to help you adopt a healthier mindset, I'm going to go over a couple of things. First, I'm going to challenge your perceptions about money, and then I'm going to go over a few tips that I have that have helped me become more confident in my personal finances. My first point is kind of deep, conceptual, and you might not believe me when I say it. So here goes. Money is not a real thing. I'll say it again. Money is not a real thing. It's not. It is a social construct that was invented on the idea that people can place value on a good or a service that they are willing to pay for in exchange for that good or service. Essentially, money was created out of IOUs. And if you don't know what that is, it was simply if I needed to get something but I didn't have a means of paying for it, I would write down an IOU as in I owe you for this. And this piece of paper would mean that I have a promise to pay later. Now, eventually, these little pieces of paper themselves ended up holding a form of value, and they could be traded or exchanged for more goods and services. And from there, the little pieces of paper became what we now collectively know as money. So basically it went from the barter system to IOUs to money. Now, here's something else you may or may not know that speaks to my point about money not being real. When you go into a bank and you ask for a loan, they will look at your credit rating as a means of predicting your ability to pay back the loan. And if they're comfortable with that, then they will approve the loan and then fund the loan. What does that mean, fund the loan? If you're thinking it means they simply go back into the giant money vault where they keep people's cash and give you some of that, well, in theory, that's kind of correct because bank loans are ideally backed by bank deposits, and the banks make money by charging you more for their loans than they pay on those deposits. But in actual fact, that doesn't entirely matter because the banks themselves are backed by central banks. But that's a whole other story that we don't have time to get into. So long story short, to fund the loan, the bank simply enters numbers into the computer and voila, the money is there in your account and yours to spend, basically money out of thin air. So you see, money really is nothing. Whereas the ability to work and earn and be responsible and build up your credit rating to get that loan approved, that's actually something, and it's based on the value that you bring to the world. So instead of believing that old expression that money is the root of all evil, you might start changing your mindset to another old expression that money makes the world go round, because that one might be a bit closer to the truth. In fact, it's people that make the world go round, and money is just another tool to facilitate the process. And on that note, here are a few tips to help you feel more confident about your personal finances. Number one, you probably heard this one, but it's important, so I'm going to say it again. Find a way to keep a budget so that you know, based on your income, how much your expenses can be, whether that's monthly or bi-weekly, to live comfortably and still be able to save a little. And choose where and when you want to splurge. Like for me, I don't tend to spend a lot on fancy clothes or fine dining. However, I do probably spend more than the average person on experiences, sports, adventures, and travel because that's important to me. That's what I value. Number two, every year, try to put away a little bit of money into investments. And the best way to do this is through exchange-traded funds, or ETFs. These are index funds that are linked to the indexes. And an index is something like the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the TSX, or NASDAQ. And these are groups of hundreds of top performing companies. And the reason why this works better than speculative stock picking is that while both approaches are essentially betting your money on performance, the index funds are an average performance of hundreds of companies working hard to grow, whereas the stock picking is just one. And through investing in these indexes, you can earn a piece of that growth. And I know some people might be thinking that there are arguments against this whole paradigm of endless economic growth, like the ecological perspective that the earth cannot sustainably produce endless growth, and the inherent risks of total market collapse. And I get it. And I have studied sustainability and business, and I've come to the conclusion that sustainable growth is very much achievable. Because although the earth's natural resources are finite, knowledge and ideas are infinite, and that is what fuels growth. So invest in it for your own sustainable future. Number 3, get into real estate if and whenever you can. Now, I know there are many people who firmly state that saving up for a home in this day and age is not practical, and nor should it be considered real investing. And there are the management fees if you're in condos, or the chances of a drop in the market value, and all the other risks associated with home ownership. And in my short experience, I have dealt with some of these downsides, but at the end of the day, it's like this. Every time I make my mortgage payment, I am no less poor. In fact, I'm actually richer because those mortgage payments are now building up my equity that I can get back if and when I choose to sell. And that to me just feels so much better than working hard, earning money, and then paying rent that I'll never see again, that is just building up somebody else's equity. And so, I want to finish by saying something that I've heard in different interpretations over the years from some of my mentors. And maybe this is the route to changing your mindset on money. Here it is. It's important to try to focus on value instead of dollars. The value of things, people, experiences, your value. These are real things, whereas dollars are not. So instead of stressing about the task at hand and what they're paying you to do, try reframing your focus onto the value you bring, first and foremost. And then watch as everything else starts to fall into place. Thank you very much. I hope you found inspiration in this. And please don't forget to click like if you like this. And I will see you again soon.